Money making money making money.
Come on, you gotta tell me, how is this even possible?
It's easy. 1, you take your money and you put it in this secret spot. 2, you let that money grow with compound interest. 3, then you find a place for that money to go where it can work for you. 4, and then every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, you join me for a wealth webinar.
I'll do it.
It's free. Plus, if you join me now, you'll get my free ebook that teaches you to get all the money back for every car you buy, drive, and own. So take advantage of this opportunity and I'll see you there.
Hey, are you ready to take control of your financial future? Welcome to Private Money Club. Private Money Club is the ultimate online platform connecting real estate entrepreneurs with private money lenders just like you. Whether you're looking to fund your next deal or lend money to grow your wealth, Private Money Club is your go-to resource. You can post deals, find funding, connect with other like-minded professionals. It's just a community. It's a community that you need to plug into. If you're new to the game, no problem. Our Learn platform and our weekly coaching webinars and our on-demand resources are here to guide you every step of the way. Join a thriving network of real estate experts who are already making an impact, and they're waiting to partner with you. So Private Money Club gives you the tools, the training, the connections, and everything you need to achieve your financial goals. So why don't you start now by going to privatemoneyclub.com. We'll see you inside. Hey, you need to become your own bank. And it's as simple as changing one thing, and that is where your money goes first. I mean, think about it. Household debts in this country are at all-time highs. You got tons of market volatility. You got the potential for Social Security running out of money. You've got global uncertainty, political divide, and you have to figure out where you're going to put your hard-earned savings. I mean, this is one of those times in history where the rich are getting richer, and it is time to learn the secrets of the wealthy. But here's the good news. Every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I put on a free webinar where I teach you how to take back control of your money by teaching you how to become your own bank. So click the link below and let's get started.
So let's go into the app, because the app was created after a dating site, believe it or not. So people with money and people that need money. Phone, swipe left. Swipe left. Ooh, I like that one. Swipe right. You want to go on. If you got money, you want to swipe left through all the deals. When you find one you like, boom, you're connected. How much more difficult does this really need to be? This isn't rocket science. They want you to think it is because they want control of your money. It is time to take back control of our money. I want to invite you to a free interactive webinar that we're doing to teach you how to get prepared for what's about to happen and how you can grow, preserve, and protect your wealth and get it ready for a recession or maybe the next Great Depression. So all I need you to do is click the link below. You're not going to want to miss this with all this stuff going on.
Are you sick of having your money lying around not doing anything? Well, we've got the solution for you. PrivateMoneyClub.com. Back to you, Chris.
So that's what it is. Private Money Club was created for you and for all of us. So I've got something special. Since you're here, you're listening to us talk to you about the infinite banking concept, I wanted to make an offer. Private Money Club is something that will benefit each of you, but we've got what's called the Accelerator. The Private Money Club Accelerator is a coaching program that takes together the knowledge that you'll need to be your own bank and puts it together with the opportunities in Private Money Club so that now you learn and apply the knowledge. Check it out. We got a very special offer for you to be part of the next Accelerator coaching program and get you into Private Money Club so your money starts working for you.
Hey everybody, it's Buff Finance Guy here, ready to show you how to make some serious gains. But not only in the gym, with your wallet too. Most people put their money in the bank doing absolutely nothing for them. But I'm gonna show you how it doesn't have to be that way. So take Andrew here. His money has just been sitting lazy in the bank. But all he has to do is change one thing, and that's where the money goes first, and everything changes. Just change where your money goes first, silly.
Wait, just one change?
Yeah, that's it. Instead of sending it to the bank, you send it to your very own banking system. Your money can grow and get stronger, just like me.
It's time for Money School TV. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth.
He's been on the fence to come to PMC Money Tank. I'm telling you right now, you're missing out on a treat.
This is the ultimate watering hole for lenders and borrowers.
If you've got decent deals, you'll find the funding for it.
The networking here has been fantastic.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Tremendously beneficial.
Oh my gosh, so many people to network with.
First day, I probably met 5 or 6 people. They show me ideas, I show them ideas. We're actually on stage about 20 minutes ago, and since then, I've already had about 20 people reach out.
There are several people that I probably will be doing business with.
I have like 15 private lenders ready to fund my deals. The people here are amazing and so welcoming.
You walk in, everyone greets you right away. No one is a stranger.
It's just an amazing and comfortable place to be.
There's so much stuff that I've been able to learn that I didn't know. I've had aha moments over and over again.
They talked about normal rates of return, not 6%, we're talking about 10%, but in a way that's ethically sound and stable. It's full disclosure, but helps walk you through everything. They even talk about it on stage of like, we've already made the mistakes, so here we are, and we're teaching you to not make the same mistakes. You get to learn from us, you get to just follow our direction and just see what you can do. I've gotten great things out of the virtual events, but there's no comparison to actually coming here, experiencing the energy, and getting to meet all of the people. Everyone is here looking to grow in some capacity. Being in this environment, it allows you to feed on that and foster that.
During the event, they had a lender-borrower meet and greet, which is pretty cool. It's different when you can spend some time, have a meal together, hang out, joke around. The people are just a blast.
It's so much fun.
The community of the Money Tank PMC, the whole crew with Chris, Steven, Jonah, everybody, and Joe, they've all helped me out. It's been changing my life.
You're gonna learn something, you're gonna meet someone, and it's definitely gonna make a big difference in your business. Not by a little bit, but by a lot.
I mean, you could stay stuck thinking you can do it on your own. There's a lot of people that I talk to is their issue, and then they come here, and I talk to them a year later, and they've grown so much just by coming to this event.
Started $15,000 in credit card debt. As of today, I have $550,000 out in private lending. That's what this teaches you.
I tell people all the time, you have to get in the room to be around the like-minded people.
Go. It's worth it.
Just come. Do it for yourself. Do it for your business.
Take action. You got to do it.
Come to the event, you don't want to miss it.
Well, the biggest thing I hope that people get is something that they can actually apply in their lives. You know, that's the biggest thing for any of these events that we want. We want people to leave here not just riled up, not just excited, but actually going out and doing something that'll put them in a better financial situation, help their family. And for the speakers, my goal is that they go out and they impact the audience and bring something the audience never had exposure to that allows them to then fill in that piece that they're looking for. I'm going to be talking about more lease options. I'm going to be talking about equity shares. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of fun stuff today. Because again, I'm not here to teach about how to do those deals. I'm here to teach about how to invest in those deals.
Filled with individuals that are like-minded, that are at the top of their craft, they're at the top of their game. And for anybody that's an attendee, it's just a mind-blowing experience.
It's almost going to be hard to speak anywhere else but here because it was such a great experience. I felt like, I don't know. It was amazing. Nothing less than amazing, literally.
At the PMC Money Tank event, which is an epic event that we're putting together that does one thing and one thing only, makes everybody money. It brings people with money together with people that need money. It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You just smash them together and everybody wins.
Wednesday, 9:30, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Going live!
All right, welcome back, everybody. Another week, another what the F happened. And oh my goodness, I came on a little bit late here because I'm trying to watch Trump's address in the Davos forum there. And pretty interesting one so far. If any of you are catching that, I almost wish I could just play that. But we're going to just hit some of the high level things. He's covering things like interest rates on credit cards. He's covering Greenland. And well, the markets, well, they're going positive after a massive sell-off in fear of an invasion of Greenland to take the territory. Well, all these things that are being said in Davos contradict the invasion, but the tariff threats, yes, the trade wars are real, but this is a game we all should know. This is a game he's been playing since he took office. So we should understand that this is just his game of the art of war, or, his book, or, anyway, I almost just forgot the name of his book, but nonetheless, the art of war is in full effect. So we're going to talk about the markets today. We're going to talk about Venezuela. We're going to talk about Greenland, Trump, the tariffs, the trade wars. What does all this mean to you? We're going to talk about the massive debt. We're going to talk about why is gold at almost 4,900 and still climbing? What does that signal? Precious metals. We're going to hit all these because it's not the market sell-off that you just witnessed. Yesterday, I believe we finished down like 800 points. I know all of you saw that. But a lot of you that watch the mainstream media, CNN, CNBC, pretty much all of them, would blame the sell-off on what? Greenland? A threat of, taking action and force to take Greenland? No. There's a much bigger play here. And that's what we're going to hit on today. But folks, thank you for joining us for this episode of What the F, where we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We'll be back right after this. All right, so James is going to be joining us. He's just running a couple minutes late here. We've had some crazy weather over here in the Buffalo, New York area, but there's a giant storm that's been hitting not just New York, but also Chicago. We're going to hit on that a little bit, but let's just dive right into Greenland, right? From day one, Trump had mentioned that he had interest in taking Greenland, or not so much taking Greenland, buying Greenland. Sometimes I wonder if there's a difference between taking and buying when it comes to governments. But nonetheless, there's a lot of stuff to unpack here. I don't know how deep we want to get into this. Good morning, everybody coming in from all over the place. But I think the biggest thing is when you look at the Senate, they're vowing to block any military efforts by this administration to seize Greenland. Okay, now Trump just, echoed that in his talk. He said, we are not going to invade Greenland, which was some of the concern. However, it's got the entire European Union up in arms, and also Canada. They're all in, I haven't watched all their addresses in Davos, but I can tell just by the different things I'm seeing, there's a lot of upheaval about this. A lot of people not happy about this. So first off, European leaders at Davos blasted the U.S.'s Greenland tariffs. Now, I understand that, but at this point, you guys have seen the game played out. You've seen what Trump's doing with the tariffs. You've seen how he's used that, and it hasn't ended as poorly as everybody thought. And I love how the media, the fake news, if you will, constantly keeps saying that tariffs are driving inflation up. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't really seen any proof or factual proof that inflation is starting to go heavily north. Now, is it bouncing around? Sure. There's still a lot of money that's been printed. The government's still spending exorbitant amounts of money, which is a major issue, and one of the reasons why gold and precious metals continues to go up when you really look at that. But I'll hold that for later. So let's keep going here. There was another interesting thing that you may or may not have seen, but Air Force One had to turn around. Okay. Did you hear about that? What? I want to know more about this. I don't know if any of you know more about this, but what happened? Because what I read is that they had to turn it around. Now, he was on his way to the economic forum, right, in Davos, and they had to turn around because was it technical or security concerns? Trump's not exactly the most popular guy out there, right? But to turn Air Force One around. What the heck has to happen to do that? Now, he made it there. At least my understanding, he made it there, unless he's reporting virtual. I haven't had a chance to unpack that. Does anyone know? Can somebody report that? Did Trump make it to Davos? Is he reporting at Davos? I'm almost certain he is, but he just got there late, right? Yeah, I think that's the case. Sorry, I don't have all the specifics. I'm trying to keep up with this stuff. I'm trying to. It's very difficult because there's new stuff happening every single day, and I'm really trying to ignore the noise and focus on only what's important for us, okay? For you, me, and American citizens. I don't give a shit what's important to European nations. I don't give a shit what's important to China. And by the way, China's vice premier, I can't say his name, whatever. He used his Davos address to argue that tariffs and trade wars have no winners. Now, from my research in the past, that isn't exactly true. But I'll go along with it and say, all right, tariffs and trade wars, really, there's no winners. The losers are really us, okay? I'll go along with that. But in the past, tariffs and trade wars have been effectively used, and there is proof saying and showing that it has effectively been used. Now, is it being used properly this way? Well, according to China's vice premier, no. And he pledged that China will boost domestic demand and open its doors wider, especially in services. I found that kind of interesting because China's, last time I checked, they're communist, right? They don't open their doors to anything. They don't tell the truth on anything. They're citizens. They're the people of China. They don't know anything the government's doing. I think that's one thing we really have to look at, living here in the United States of America, contrary to a lot of the liberals. And, listen, if you're a liberal, good for you. Like, I got no issue with that. But, let's have a debate. And James is going to be joining us. And obviously he's, I'm not going to say far left, but I guess he's definitely left. I'm definitely right. I'm not far right. But I think it's interesting when you get, the left and the right together and you have productive debate or productive discussions. I think a lot of good stuff comes out of that. But however, that isn't quite the case. You just, what you're seeing right now in Minnesota is, to me, it's just a disgrace. Now, I'm not going to get into all that stuff right now. I want to get back to Davos in Greenland. I went down a little rabbit hole there, but what I'm trying to explain to you is we've got it pretty good here in the United States of America. This still is the greatest country on earth. And if liberals don't think that, if they don't believe this isn't the greatest country on earth, get the fuck on a plane and fly your ass to China and live there for a couple of years and let me know how you like it. And then you can come back here and stop bitching because we got it pretty freaking good here. We really do. And we always have. And, there's a lot to be said about that because we got to protect that freedom. We got to protect the greatest country on earth, which is still, no matter how you look at it, the United States of America, the land of the free and the land of opportunity. Because I can't look anywhere else. Maybe Switzerland, any other country, any other nation in the world that has what we have here. And here's the other thing I want to say before I move on to Venezuela's oil tanker situation, is I do also want to say that right now, okay, January 2026, in my 48 years on this planet, at least the ones that I can remember, because when you're a child, you're just playing and drooling and, doing fun things like that. Some days I wish I could kind of just go back to that because that just seemed like a lot simpler life back then. But nonetheless, I'll tell you, I'm an opportunist. I'm a capitalist. Okay. If you don't like that, great. We don't have to be friends. I'm not trying to make new friends out there. And nor should any of you. None of you that are watching this should give two shits what somebody else thinks of you. Okay. Because all it does is create stress in your life. It just creates negativity in your life. It creates, just hate. There's nothing good that comes out of any of that. So you know what? Let the haters be haters because haters need hugs too. But the whole point I'm trying to make is everything you're seeing happen here with all these protests, all this crap going on, the stealing, the looting. I don't know how far I want to go down this, but you only see that from one side, right? I feel like you only see that from one side. And that side doesn't see the opportunity we have here in the United States of America. Because I think right here, right now, January 2026, I think there has never, ever in my 48 years been a greater opportunity to rise above, to become wealthy, to do all the things you want, to fulfill your dream. There has never been a time that's easier because the bar has gotten so low here in the United States of America that right here, right now, you can do anything you want to do. All you need to do is stay focused. You need to believe it's possible. You need to think about it every single day. You need to ignore the haters, ignore the negativity, and just focus on what matters for you and how do you go out there and solve more people's problems. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. How many of you have had a customer service need and you've had to call a bank? You've had to call a financial firm. You've had to call pretty much anybody, the airlines. How was that experience? Was it good? Did you get somebody on the phone that was super happy? Unless you called Security Mutual, which is one of the life insurance companies, or One America, I don't think you had a good experience, did you? Because you didn't have a human being answer the phone, did you? No, you had some pre-recorded thing. And then you're like, you hit zero. Remember the old days where you just hit zero and you got an operator, right? Oh, shit, that doesn't work anymore. You can't hit zero and get an operator. What I'm trying to do on this little dive down this rabbit hole is explain to you that all you need to do is just this much more. You want to start a business? Focus your business on customer service. Take your clients' phone calls. When there's a complaint or you see something negative, handle it with positivity. Handle it with compassion. Call the person. Okay. Even if you're in the wrong, make it right. Like, these are not difficult things. We all should have been brought up with this. We should have been brought up that this is just what you do, but that isn't what's happening. So you want to be successful? Just do this much better than the rest of the world or the rest of the United States. Let's dive into Venezuela. Does that make sense, folks? Like, can I get a hell yeah, or I don't give a crap? Some of you might be saying, oh, that isn't true. That isn't true. It's not that easy. But I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen left, right, and center. But there's a lot of problems, and the problems are debt and other things. But we'll get to that when we talk about WTF USA. Let's dive here into. Oh, James is with us. Sorry, James. I went down a rabbit hole there, man.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, WTF. Chris, I'm so glad you brought up a lot of those great points. Obviously, we don't have a lot of time. We got a lot of news to cover. But yeah, the United States is the land of opportunity. And you know what? Capitalism has gotten us this far. But unfortunately, where are we right now? That position is debatable amongst a lot of people. And that's why it's so good to have a discourse, a conversation, if you will, between opposing ideas, fundamentals, and obviously political parties, because somewhere, someplace, we will find that there is a mutual ground. And perspective and empathy are absolutely fundamental, especially in a time as politically polarizing and financially polarizing as we are right now. Chris, let's make some magic happen. What do you think?
Well, I went through, and I don't know how long you've been in the waiting room there. I went through the Greenland stuff and everything that's going on. And right before I came on, I actually got started a little late. I was listening to the Trump address, and well, news is out, or at least so he said. We're not going to invade Greenland. I think there's a more diplomatic way to do it. And I think the markets are reacting to that, but there's been a lot of shit talking going on in Davos right now. So I didn't get deep into that outside of China's vice premier, where they're like, tariffs and trade wars have no winners. I disagree with that to a certain extent. I get why China would say that, being a communist and being, I don't know. Should we call China one of our enemies, James? Is China one of our enemies?
We are frenemies because economically,
I like that. I like that.
Economically, we're joined at the hip. Manufacturing wise, we're joined at the hip. But we understand, and I agree with you, that we know that the United States spies on China and the China spies on the United States. But when in history has that not ever happened between two superpowers? I think that's something that we also need to recognize as well. So we are frenemies. One may not be able to exist with the other in the same capacity, meaning America, we buy a lot of our manufactured goods from China as it stands right now, and they have devalued their currency so that those manufacturers' goods can be imported to us and then can be distributed to the rest of the world.
Combating the inflation and the tariffs, right?
Of course, yeah. And then we can make money. But at the same time, when we're talking about like tariffs and everything like this, here, I'm not sure if we did get a chance to touch on this subject. There is now a bubble of economy that is existing outside of the United States.
Oh, but there's been a bubble.
Uh-huh.
The whole world's in a bubble. Remember, it's a world economy. So you can't really, the days of saying the United States economy is drastically different than the world economy of any other nation. It's kind of gone because it is really now a global economy.
It
I
is a
mean,
global, yep.
geopolitics, prove that. It's definitely a global economy. So, what's happening here is happening everywhere else. I mean, but you got to look at the big dogs, which is China, US. I'm going to throw India in there because of population.
Absolutely.
And just they're definitely a developing nation and probably soon to be one of the leading. I think they could be one of the leading nations if they get their shit in order. But I don't want to spend too much more time on this because there's still real time unpacking going on in Davos with Trump's address on what's happening in Greenland. And I think there's a lot more to unpack there. But let's talk about Venezuela because the writing's on the wall there. So I think it's an easier thing to talk about. Venezuela. James, what has happened over there? I know we had this crazy, I still don't know what they launched over there, those bombs that they set off or whatever that was to go in and take the president out of there, and what is your take? Let's get your take.
Well, let's look at this.
Why did we do that?
We understood. We went on there under the premise of drugs. It ended up and developed into being oil. And Venezuela is sitting on a huge oil reserve. And as of right now, I believe it's up to 8 tankers that have been basically confiscated.
Seven tankers
that have been confiscated by the United States. And basically, Trump has said, we're taking the oil and I am running the country of Venezuela. And I feel that this could lead to a bigger issue because when he had the leaders of ExxonMobil, BP, Chevron, who was able to stay in there, and stay in Venezuela, they said Venezuela is not a profitable location because they've already invested massive infrastructure into that and lost it repeatedly, year after year, administration after administration. And while we recognize that it is a huge area of opportunity in this petrodollar community, and we understand that the United States also needs to have a strong petrochemical oil presence in order for it to combat the BRICS dollar.
Right.
And it becomes this.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, it becomes this kind of situation where do we invest into this particular area of Venezuela where there is civil unrest, not massive, but there is unrest. We understand that Maduro was not a very good leader. He was
I mean,
corrupt.
just look at the citizens of Venezuela like cheering Trump. Like, I mean, maybe that's AI, but doesn't seem to be. I mean, it seems like they're pretty freaking happy. I mean, the dude was probably, he needed to go, and well, we went in there and did it. But I guess to say we went in there and did that because of the drugs is, I think
it was misleading.
It's oil, man. It's always been oil.
Yeah.
And I think it makes a lot of sense, James. I really do. I think it makes a lot of sense, with some of the stuff Trump's doing. I know the world doesn't like it. I know nobody likes it. But you know what? Nobody was bitching about Putin going in and invading Ukraine. Why are they doing that? Resources.
The whole NATO sanctioned Russia.
But you don't even hear about it anymore.
Invaded Ukraine. That's a complete miswording. I can't ride with you on that.
You're probably right. You're probably right. I probably got a little over my skis.
Economic sanctions.
I'm sure I got over my skis. But I'm just saying, like, Putin can't be the only one going out there doing that. I mean, China's been doing the same thing a little more diplomatically. They just go in and they buy things and they strip the resources. But that's kind of what we're talking about with Greenland. We're talking about buying it, and they don't want to sell.
They don't want to sell. And
I get it.
Let's take this back. Let's look at the fundamentals of. Well, let's finish up with Venezuela. Then we're going to move on to Greenland. Venezuela, they have a leader that has been deposed, and the new leader who was trying to take power has actually had the support of the United States before. The thing is that it was nationalized oil, meaning it wasn't going to be shared with the United States or these other corporations. Now, Chevron, Exxon, they want to get in there, but that infrastructure is going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of money for that to happen. The question is that investment going to pay off in a reasonable amount of time to essentially help these corporations and then, by extension, the United States? Boom.
Hard to say.
The next part is, what is the morality of us confiscating oil tankers? That is piracy. We know the United States doesn't like pirates, because if that wasn't the case, Somalis wouldn't have this negative stipulation, this stigmata around them. Next, Greenland. Greenland has been said that we need this for national security. Let's put the facts on the table here and just get everybody caught up here, because I know that you guys love having all of the facts. Dating back to 1950s, to the 50s, the United States has had a great agreement with Denmark to establish military bases there for the reasons of national security, to protect it against Russia, because you can fly over the polar ice caps and basically you're right there. You have to go through Canada, of course, but then you make your way into the United States when that was a threat. Canada is not a threat to the United States. Europe has not been a threat to the United States, and Russia is too busy dealing with the Ukraine. So why is this an issue of national security? Because
he addressed that. Did you see Trump's address on that, on how he's talking with both of them? And they're well, I mean, he's been saying that he does one thing that Trump does really well is uses any news as a way to kind of prop himself up. Kudos to him. I got to learn how to do that. But there is progress being made, or at least said to be being made, between Russia and Ukraine. I mean,
yep.
You think it's going to end soon?
No,
what are your thoughts?
You don't the military complex is way too strong right now. These companies, Raytheon, these drone companies, make way too much money. I always follow the money, and when the money's involved, and special interest groups and PACs and all this stuff are involved, the money, until the money doesn't need to be made anymore, quote unquote, it's always going to be there. But Greenland offers fresh water. Greenland offers.
Why do we need fresh water right now? What's the biggest reason we need fresh water?
Data centers.
That's it.
Hands down. Data centers.
A lot of this has to do with that. I think that's not.
Yeah,
fact.
We know that there's rare earth elements, and I understand the play.
And that's why Greenland doesn't want us there, because they know what we're coming after.
Yeah, they want that. If we get those rare earth elements, now America becomes a key competitor to China, who pretty much owns 85% of the rare earth element market. And we know that this is where the future is going with the advent of AI, with the electricity, basically economy on the precipice, basically on the horizon. So let's at least call it for what it is. And if the United States has to take it by hook or by crook, ideally they will. But the thing is
yeah, I think they certainly will.
Right now,
we can just kind of chalk that one up. Like Greenland's going to be U.S. That's all there is to it.
Here's the question. We're looking to repeat something that happened, I believe, I forgot when the U.S. annexed and purchased Alaska from Russia. Do you feel that was really liked amongst the people of the United States back in that particular time?
Oh, gosh, man, I don't have any context on that. I really, no context.
From the research I've seen so far.
It sounds like Canada doesn't want us to take them over. I mean, Mark Carney isn't for that. So I suppose it was probably the same.
Carney, I'm not. We're kind of jumping over the place.
Well, that's the next topic I want to get into.
Okay, sure, let's do that.
We're still on the Davos thing. In Davos, Mark Carney dropped a pipe
bomb. Yeah,
pipe bomb. World Economic Forum. I'll just read this. The spirit of dialogue. Yeah, that's interesting. But anyway, the sessions are preoccupied with two threats: Trump's aggressive trade policy and K-shaped global economy where elites thrive while many households stagnate. All right, that's a matter of opinion, I believe. And on January 20th, 2026, which was yesterday, Prime Minister Mark Carney delivered a landmark address. I love how this is the news, right? This is how the news talks. This is CNN, right? This is definitely CNN. It's got to be, because you can just read something, even if you don't know where it came from, and you can tell, oh, that's Fox. Oh, that's CNN. CNBC, maybe not. But basically saying that described by global media, in other words, the fake news, as dropping a hammer. I don't like Carney. Never have. Just when he first was, running, I just thought he was just a little freaking weasel. But nonetheless, here we are. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, Carney's he doesn't have a play in the global economy. He really doesn't. Like, he's I hate to say it, but Carney should realize that he's just the U.S.'s little bitch. Whether he likes it or not, whether he agrees with it or not, he's got to be.
Do
you know that Trump in his address today said that people are calling him daddy? I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, that's nothing new. That's been going on, especially amongst the influencers.
I guess he likes. If I ever meet him, I'm like,
Trump.
Daddy.
That's considering he's already been, basically associated with pedophilia. I definitely want to stay away from that nickname, but so it go, because we already saw what happened to P. Diddy. So I wouldn't want that. But anyways, we're going to get to Mark Carney. Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada at one point, if not still, United States' largest trading partner. He chose his words specifically to generate clicks and notoriety and shock value by saying this new world
That's what Trump
order.
does every day.
Okay, he's taking a page out of those books.
Yeah, he's taking one right out of the Trump's book.
And by saying that on basically the economic Burning Man, the equivalent of the economic Burning Man, which is Davos. All right. So Chris, we gotta hop in a jet and either get over there this year or next year. We don't need tickets. We'll just crash the party. I'm sure they'll let us in.
Davos or Burning Man?
No, it is the Burning Man of the economic world.
Just making sure, trying to figure out where your head's at. If we're going to Burning Man or are we going to Davos?
Yeah, we can go to both.
Which neither of those places are places I want to go, but none.
Oh man, you don't want to go for the skiing, but here's the point though. He knows why he chose those words, because we are dealing with a new world order. Maybe it is not as Orwellian in 1984 as we want to say that it is, but we do have mass surveillance.
Great movie.
We do have political strife. We do have a lot of things that were forewarned and foreshadowed in a lot of these Orwellian texts. Just look at Animal Farm, and it's shocking how much correlation we have between these 2 points. Mark Carney is doing things, I think, to rattle the saber back at the United States. I'm not sure if you caught this, Chris. Did you know that he dropped the tariffs on Chinese EVs to like 5%?
Oh, didn't know that.
He dropped that. Now
I haven't
it's
really
only
been
going to
watching the news, James. To be honest, I've been pretty head down, focused. It's the new year. I got shit to do, man.
That's
I can't
how you
get
win.
hung up on a lot of
That's
this
how you
bullshit
win.
news.
You know, staying focused. And I think that he's doing that to say, hey, look, you know, I can let all these cheap EVs come into America, and they will, by osmosis, may make it into the United States. Nobody has ever correlated that story. I'm just opening it up there. And again, we were talking about the global bubble, all right, how it's all global trade. Well, what happens when Canada, who's already pissed off at the United States for these tariffs, what if they say, you know what, let's just start trading more with China? What if we start trading more with Europe? And what if we start excluding the United States? Who will the United States export all of our goods to when other companies start turning their back on the United States? Now, WTF, I know that
other countries.
Well, a lot of these other
companies. Did you mean when other countries turn their back on us?
Yes, because that's what we see right now. We're seeing that with the European Union, with NATO. We're seeing that indirectly with China.
Hold on. Europe can't survive without the U.S., without our exports. They need to import goods from us. They can't replace the goods that we make.
What goods do we make?
How are they going to do that? I mean, listen, maybe there comes a day where they can do that, but Europe.
Whiskey, we don't make any of our products here. Whiskey,
we make some. We don't make what we should. We used to, you know. But what I'm trying to say is, Europe is way worse off from that standpoint. Europe pretty much outsourced everything. Europe made some critical mistakes, which is why Europe's in the situation they're in right now. You know, Europe basically outsourced everything. They rely on everybody else for everything. The laissez-faire kind of approach to how they built their economy up to this point, which is exactly why they're in the situation they are. Why should we feel bad for Europe?
Well,
they're in the situation because they put themselves in the situation. Just like we're in the debt situation we are because we put ourselves there.
So our top exports, I've just wanted to look this up just so I'm not speaking up my you-know-what. It's been energy. All right. Oil and petroleum fuels.
Right, which is what Trump's doubling or tripling or quadrupling down on. I mean, everything we hear from Venezuela, all this stuff, it's all oil, man.
But then we could just buy it from, just buy it from the Saudis.
Well, I suppose they could. Yeah.
They could just do that, right? We have control of Venezuela temporarily, but who's to say they can't do that again? All right. Pharmaceuticals. Well, they have Eli Lilly, if memory serves. Okay. And our pharmaceuticals, we know how expensive that is. Electromedical devices, vehicles and transportation equipment, cars and parts. Well, they've got
they do a lot of
manufacturing
that.
there.
Like
They've got
cars, no question.
They've got cars.
A lot of their cars are manufactured here. You know that.
Yes, but that's so that they can avoid tariffs. But they also produce a lot of stuff domestically.
That's the point. Isn't that the point? Like
but here's the thing. We're arguing.
Hold on. You just said something. I don't know if you quite realize that.
Okay.
You're all against tariffs. We talk about it every single week. You don't like tariffs. You think they're bad. You think they raise prices. But yet that's why all the Japanese cars are made here. That's why the European cars are made here to avoid. Can you say that again? To avoid what?
To avoid tariffs.
Okay. So hold on. So to avoid tariffs, which who was it? The China premier said that was bad and there's no winner. But to avoid tariffs back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, those manufacturers, which are large manufacturers, Volkswagen and, Honda and
Volkswagen's the largest,
Toyota.
second largest,
How many jobs did that create here in the United States of America?
It did create jobs, and then automation took a lot of those jobs away that are never going to come back.
See, why do you got to play that card?
But hold on.
I agree, automation's taking jobs away from everything. But
I got to roll this back though, because
how many jobs exist here in the United States of America because of prior tariffs?
Okay.
The answer doesn't need. I don't need the answer. It's a lot.
I'm not talking about that.
Regardless of,
Chris, I am talking about Europe being a self-sustaining entity outside of the United States.
But I'm just saying, there are a little bitch. Like Europe can't. What
Europe can't? Okay, here let's talk about France
without the United States of America. Maybe that's a bit cocky to say, but like it just appears that
is inaccurate. Okay. The world's largest automaker and manufacturer is Volvo. Second largest one is actually Toyota. GM is up there.
Who did you say number one is? Volkswagen, right?
Volkswagen, Germany, largest automaker in the world. They just had their most recent round of layoffs. Okay, what hurts Europe? Like, let's talk about France. Where does France get all of its income from? Africa. All the raw materials, all their colonialism that they did back in the 1800s and before. That was the source of their wealth. Okay, we understand that the European Union has a lot of faults. And maybe I am fear-mongering and saying that all these countries are going to basically find ways around the United States and not deal with the United States. We've just seen
in the foreseeable future they can't.
Okay, I'm with you on that so far, because I don't want to fear-monger, and I don't want to say things.
Are they trying? Of course. Look what the
Yes. Well, look, they just
of course they're trying.
Denmark
but
just sold off $100 million worth of U.S. bonds. It's a drop in the bucket in the larger scheme of things. But when so many countries hold so much U.S. debt, are they really our bitch, or are we really their bitch because they hold our debt?
Well,
Luxembourg,
they buy our debt. That doesn't mean they can call their debt, because the debt
Luxembourg,
has duration.
China, Japan.
Yeah, Japan.
Right?
Japan's the largest.
The Norwegian.
China has sold a lot of our debt. You know that, right? Like China doesn't hold as much of our debt as they once did.
But we're talking about what our one of our top exports is debt. And that's one of the things that we use to sustain our economy.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why gold is going so high. Gold and precious metals in the market going down isn't because of Greenland and the threat of tariffs. It's because of, number one, our debt, the fear of what's going on with the dollar. I love when people with be your own banker, they're like, oh, I'm not going to move forward because I'm worried about what's going to happen with the dollar. Again, here's your sign is what I want to say, but get on a plane and go somewhere else, because the US dollar, unfortunately, love it or hate it, deplete it or devalue it or whatever, it is the world economy. It's the world currency. You can't change that. And here's the thing. Here's the sour truth that the other nations don't want to agree. There is nothing even close to it. There is no other currency, not even combined, not even the BRICS, that will compete with the US dollar in the foreseeable future. Is there risk down the line? Yeah. If we keep racking up debt like we are, of course. If we keep issuing T-bills like we are right now to prop things up, all these things are going to play into the dollar. But right now, the dollar is the almighty. It's what oil is valued in. And if we're doing all these moves to control more and more oil, what do you think the outcome is going to be?
Okay, so we got to address some of these things in the comments, because I see the hate and I love it, guys. Hollingsworth, that is a liberal defense. Change the subject to something random. Motherfucker, please. And I appreciate you watching, and I say this respectfully, but I am actually staying on contact. I'm talking about how Europe.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
If you see it, I just have it highlighted up there. And I appreciate you watching.
Something random.
And I am not talking about anything random. I am talking about the economy. I am talking about how.
Well, you have one fan, to yours, 3589. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't. And thanks for watching. To yours,
she's a fan of yours.
Thank you, St. James. To avoid tariffs, they also made huge profits for themselves and infiltrated. I don't want to play sides here, even though essentially.
Well, Jim Collins is also kind of leaning with you, the international bankers, and he's right. The Rothschilds, probably the single wealthiest family.
They've financed every single war since WW2.
So we are their bitch. And it is interesting. It is interesting, when you start talking about the Fed and the federal government, right? Two totally different things, because the Fed is not federal at all. You start really asking who is in control. And But right now, some of the things you're seeing really does hint that the Fed is a bit discombobulated. Okay. Right now, the Fed doesn't really know the direction they're going. There's a lot of, I've been really trying to get my head around this of like the federal government, who's driving the ship right now. And this would be the first time I probably would say this, because I'd always say the Fed. It just seems more the federal government is really, really making a mark against the Fed. I mean, they are printing, these little pieces of paper called T-bills, which, is driving. If you look at bond yields, it's driving them up. Now, listen, actually, real quick, pause.
Yep.
Folks, we got 44 here, a bunch over on Instagram. All of you should join us this afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern for Wealth Webinar. You can go to chrisnaugle.com and you can just scroll down and click on Wealth Webinar. We give you the books for free because I've got Stefan Arnio. He runs PMC Wealth with Brandon, and he's coming on to address all these things. He's going to do a deep dive. You're going to have probably a better understanding of the economy, how to play the economy. He's probably one of the smartest individuals I've been around in a very, very long time. So join us at 1 p.m. Eastern if you want to know what all this stuff means, all these things that are happening, and how to invest your money into it to make a whole boatload of cash. Keep going, James.
Is the best way to protect your family. Here's the thing. America was built on capitalism. It was an experiment to bring a lot of different cultures and communities together, even at its literal foundational levels. It was built upon people pursuing religious freedom. So we are working out the kinks. And some people I've met, they're like, I am getting the F out of the United States. I lived internationally for over 10 years, and I got to see a global perspective on a lot of things. And I got to see the good, the bad, the happy, and the sad. And one of the things is sometimes when you have a family, the U.S. being a family, sometimes there's going to be fights within the family. The important thing is to come back to the idea that we are family. Black, brown, skinny, or round. The thing is that our unity is what makes us strong. The divisiveness is what brings us apart. And there is a tremendous amount of upside here. But we have to look at where do we want to be at? And some of us want to go over here. Some of us want to go over there. Some of us say this is the plan to it. And that's why we need to have this discourse and be as educated as possible, considering all these facts and coming up to
James, real quick, and I know we're all over the place, but I knew it was going to go this way. To yours 3589, and some of the things she's saying, I'm not quite understanding. Maybe you should go elsewhere. I know she's talking to me. Maybe you should go elsewhere and see the other side and how it's wrong for all this greed. Are you delusional? Like greed? Really? The whole world is greed. Okay. All the countries are greedy. Like, you want to talk about greed, go to China. The greed that's insane for you to even say that. I'm simply saying, if you don't like the United States of America, get out. Like, what is difficult to understand about that? So now, like, I'm now going to pick on to George, because that's just insane to say that. Like, I resent any American saying, get out if you don't like it. It's the foundation of the darn country. You fucking clearly don't understand the foundation of the country in that statement. Unreal. I'm not going to waste this whole thing arguing with Tajor.
We've got a lot to cover. We got a lot to cover.
All this stuff.
Thank you.
You are the exact person I would say, get the fuck out of the United States of America, because you are delusional, clearly confused about what the United States of America is. I'm not disagreeing with you saying that about greed. There's tons of greed going on right now, but what are you going to do? You're going to change that? You're going to change that by going out and protesting for the illegals? Is that what you're doing? Like,
Chris. Now, anyway. Protesting and illegals, we know that there is a nuanced subject. That is such a nuanced subject.
Yeah, it is.
Right. And
well, let's talk about. We got to get off this topic.
Yeah.
Because now I'm, now those arguing.
We're getting emotional about this.
It's not going to do any good. It's a waste of time. Let's talk about gold.
Yes.
Gold is at a record high at almost 4,900 an ounce. Okay.
Can you imagine?
And I'm sure Tajors is going to say she knows why gold is going so high. So go ahead, Tajors, please.
All right. Quick show of hands, though. How many people here have been stocking precious metals? Chris, go ahead, please.
I have not. I have some silver, but yeah, I'm not a huge precious metals person, because precious metals, it's a store of wealth. I get it. I know why it's going up. There's so much fear. It's signaling things. Trump, goes on and says, the stock market's going to double. I can't disagree with that, because there are reasons that could happen, but I'm very much against thinking that would happen. And I'm not playing that card. If you got to pick a side, like gold is going up as high as it is because of fear, solely because of fear. And investors are piling into safe haven assets because, and I'm just going to read this: escalating geopolitical tensions over Greenland and U.S. That's just headline news. That's not really why gold's going up. And in this afternoon at 1 p.m., when Stefan comes on, because I can't give financial advice or investment advice, but Stefan can, because he's a registered, investment advisor. Metals are now roughly 10% higher since the start of 2026, extending a 60+% increase last year. Is it just because people just love gold? Like, gold remember that
I love
Austin
gold.
Yeah. That's not the reason gold's going this high. Gold is going this high, not because you and me are going to buy a couple coins or buy some gold. It's because nations and giant institutions are piling into it. I had some notes here that I wrote down. James, you had sent me a great article from, I guess, would you call him an economist? What would you call him?
He's at least he's
kind of like a macro guy, like
commenter, like influencer, we'll say at the least. But he knows his shit. He definitely knows his shit.
Basically, he did a thing today, and he was talking about, basically why are the markets selling off? This is more yesterday. Okay, why are the markets selling off? And the news would have you believe that the markets are selling off, and Tejor would probably have you to believe because what we're doing in Greenland. That is not the reason. If you look at bonds, which is usually a telltale sign, again, we'll cover this more in one telltale sign of what's going on. Bonds, the yields are skyrocketing, which means it's even on T-bills, which means that there's a lot of risk in the near term. Okay. So when you look at the T-bills, it kind of tells the story. And really the big thing here, the big problem, and this is no secret, is the debt the U.S. has, right? I know the tariffs are supposedly supposed to be happening, helping the deficit, but I'm not seeing it. And I'll say right now, tariffs aren't going to help deficit. They can say what they want to get votes and try to get reelected and all this good stuff. Midterms are coming up, so you're going to hear a lot of interesting stuff being thrown on both sides of the aisle. But really, really what you got to look at is you got to look at what is going to get the United States out of this massive debt. It isn't the president. Certainly wasn't Joe Biden, certainly not going to be Donald Trump, certainly not going to be any other president in the future. They're just going to continue to spend. Okay. Yeah. So what gets a country out of a debt like that? There's one answer, has always been one answer, and has been proven to be the only thing that we've been able to work in our short time as a world power, and that is GDP. You have to grow GDP. If you grow GDP, gross domestic product, if you don't know what that word means, Tejor probably doesn't, come at 1 o'clock this afternoon and we'll be sure to teach you what GDP means. If you grow GDP, the ratio, it's kind of like you guys have all seen like the credit card things where they're like, all right, hey, if your credit score is low and your debt to income ratio is out, go to the credit cards, ask them to increase your limit. Now all of a sudden it balances out, right? James, you've heard of that, right? It's the same kind of thing. It's literally the same thing. If you grow GDP, the ratio of GDP to debt, okay, it is changed. So the answer has and always will be grow GDP. So then how do you grow GDP? Well, Trump, in his way, and I don't disagree with this, is the tariffs, which we talked about earlier with the auto manufacturers. Tariffs drive, more industry here. The data centers, which are a huge push right now, because we're definitely one of the leaders, not going to say the leader, in the AI push, the data center push. Love it or hate it, because they're definitely not super good for the economy or for the environment. But nonetheless, I mean, Greenland knows that with the fresh water. But when you think of GDP, we have to increase GDP, but we've done a really good job of pushing a lot of our manufacturing, all the things we've produced elsewhere, China. Okay. We pushed a lot of China, India, Vietnam, and all that. So we got to bring some of that back. How are we doing that? Tariffs are one way, the push into AI and the data centers and all this is another way. Massive investments with the government into US based businesses. And then, I loved what he said, where he's basically kind of going after these companies and primarily banks and basically saying, the stock buybacks, they're not going to, the government's not going to give contracts to these companies that are doing big stock buybacks. And if you a lot of you probably don't fully understand that, but that's the right way to do it. Like put the cap on that. Cause that you talked about greed or Tejor's talked about greed. That's greed. That's corporate greed at its highest level, the stock buybacks, because it's not benefiting anybody but them. That's okay. Right. So, anyway, don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So anyway, right now you could sincerely rest on these words. Cash is trash. Yes. Okay. But it's still the nicest house in a shitty neighborhood when you look worldwide for currencies. Bitcoin, trash. Okay. You very much might disagree with me, but right now that's a pretty accurate statement.
Massive pullback right now in Bitcoin.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense. Okay. And then the Mag 7s Okay, the 7 stocks, or some would argue it's 10, that are driving almost all of the returns in the S&P 500, they're selling off. In precious metals and small caps and consumer staples, all defensive plays, not so much small caps, but certain small caps will benefit because they can pivot faster. All of them, okay, all of them are basically just showing you where we're going, which is not saying that the markets are going to double. So I just don't see it, man. The government spending, the debt, which has only been paralleled, in World War II, which was a massive world war that we were funding. That's why we had so much debt. So where do you put money? Well, I think right now, I'm not saying precious metals are a bad play. I personally believe in the United States of America. So therefore, I put a lot of money in treasury bonds, not giving financial advice, but we'll explain this afternoon, why that's a good play right now with where the Fed's going, what the sentiment is for the Fed dropping rates, and what that means for your bonds. Okay, but also real estate. Real estate's been in like this deep freeze kind of recession. If you're a real estate investor, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And primarily because there's been a freeze up in liquidity. Like, it's not easy to get money. And it's been very difficult for real estate investors to get refinances done, to get anything done. And it's literally got real estate in a deep freeze. So I do think that real estate, in some sectors of real estate, not all, is a massive buying opportunity, or will be soon. And all of these things play into what we were talking about, is why is gold going higher? Because it's a tangible asset, a storage of wealth, as is real estate. That's my take. Sorry, I went a little long on that, James.
That's
I know
all
we got to
good.
move on.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Big time.
But what should we move on to? You want to go to WTF USA? I think we should get
let's go to USA.
Back.
Let's do that, Chris. Thank you.
All right. So let me hit, and take a look at some of the comments. Let's make sure we're on track with making sure our audience gets some highlights here and get away from Tajor and get into Jim Cramer. Here we go. USA.
My fellow Americans.
All right. What do we got, James? What do we got?
Oh man. So you have the sheet there. We have a lot of stuff going on with the Cramer Index. Last year's biggest gainer of all these funds, of all these different like little meme trusts and in ETFs. And again, I just want to make this disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor.
This is actually a sad day for me. You know that?
Tell me more.
Nobody knows what you're going to say. You mentioned Cramer, but this is a really sad day because, the greatest stock picker in the world, in history, is about to be number 2.
Oh, she's way down. She's way down from number 2. So Nancy Pelosi, her fund, her stock picks have not been number 1 for the first time. As a matter of fact, she's barely even in the top 10 in terms of politicians who have disclosed what their particular stock picks are. The number 1 person, I believe it's a Republican out of Ohio. You guys can research his name. There's actually a website dedicated to tracking what all of the major players do, all the major politicians do in terms of their stock picks. And a lot of them, what they did is they just picked a lot of AI stocks. And when they are making judgments and when they are making the rules, well, they get a head start in the game. So it's very interesting to see Pelosi, who's basically been the number 1, the champion, the GOAT of stock picking, let's just say, she's been dethroned, and not even just dethroned. She's been knocked off entirely of her pedestal. She's about to hang it up. And now we're looking at the inverse Cramer pick. Now, those of you guys know Cramer, talk show host, picks all these different stocks, but there's an inverse Cramer index. And I can't show that up on screen, but you guys can look it up. The inverse Cramer index outperformed the S&P 500 last year by an order of magnitude. And right now, here's the kicker, Chris. I think here's the part that you're going to like. Cramer just said recently, now is a great time to get into stocks. Now is an amazing time to get into stocks. So if you are in the Cramer Index and you're following this particular line of logic that the inverse Cramer Index is amazing, this is probably the worst time to get into stock. Now, again, I am not a financial expert. Don't come after myself. Chris Naugle's views and opinions are solely of me and for entertainment purposes only. So, right, Jim, okay, Nancy isn't the speaker anymore. Interesting correlation. It is. I think that is interesting. Actually, thank you. That's a great point.
That is pretty interesting, actually. I never thought about that, but that actually makes a ton of freaking sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
She should be in jail. Like, why is she not in jail yet? Anyway, let's move on. So here's another interesting thing. The State Department indefinitely suspended immigrant visa processing for 75 countries. Man, they're taking this immigration thing super serious.
I'm
really
conflicted about this, Chris. Do you mind if I go macro on this really quickly?
You can
before
go
we
macro
narrow
on
it
this. I
down?
don't really have a take on this one, so I'm not going to have much to say here.
We have a problem in the United States.
What is that problem?
The problem is low birth rates.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, now you got my attention.
And
100%.
so we have low birth rates
That's the
because
reason why China's doomed, just so you know.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot of doom and gloom out here. Yes, I play a part in this as well. And when I speak to younger generation, and I'm talking people who are sub 30, okay, people who are about to enter the prime of their, working lives, they're like, I don't want to have kids right now. It's too expensive. The political climate is too polarizing, and I'm barely making it by right now. The average age of a person having their first child right now is in their late 30s. Wow. But back in, we're going to say the 70s and 60s, it used to be 27. So we are having a very low birth rate, but a very high aging population. So who's going to take care of those older people? And how does capitalism?
Are you making a point for immigration?
So without immigration, and I'm going to say just immigration and legal immigration,
the United States, can I just interject? Because I know where you're going. The United States can't survive without immigration, period.
There we go.
We can't.
That's it.
But
we agree.
Going back to Biden, like just opening our borders and letting anyone come in without any regulation, that is not it. Legal immigration is
cutting to now. Kicking out American citizens also doesn't make sense, because we have American citizens who are being detained and who are being deported.
I'm sure. But I mean, the point isn't to detain American citizens. The point is to get rid of the illegals, and listen, like, I know Trump's trying to take a lot of credit for, the number of illegals they're moving out. And I think it's a noble effort that they're doing. And, I think that I'm fully for it, contrary to some of the people that want to keep Somalians in here that are just stealing your tax dollars that you're paying. That's a funny one, but nonetheless, anyway, wow, just lost my train of thought there.
Well, we're talking about immigration and how it might be helpful for the growth of the economy.
Well, we have to have immigration here. We don't have the birth rates, and we have to have legal immigration. We always have. I have something very important. I'm on day number 2 of a fast, and your brain kind of doesn't work super fast when you're doing this. I'll come back to that, James.
No problem.
It'll come back to me. I'm just, my brain is frozen.
There are no credible reports indicating that Joe Biden issued any pardon for Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, yes. Thank you. That's where we're going. When you go back and you look at Clinton and all the other ones, like they also were fully supporting getting illegals out of the country. Not so much Biden, but you talk about Obama. We talk about Obama a lot. I think Obama, you can love him or hate him, but I think he was one of the best spoken presidents the United States has probably ever had, at least for my recollection of the presidents. Like, the man could speak, and he could capture.
But the man also did. That's the thing. And he did it within the process that was set up by the U.S. Constitution. And the big bias.
You're talking about Obama?
Yes.
Maybe when he was president, not so much anymore. And there's a lot that he did wrong, but I was just saying he was a good speaker. That's all. I'm going to rest with that one.
Okay.
We don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but let's get back to the visas, the freezing of these visas in 75 nations. And this starts January 21st. I don't fully understand. I think I know what they're trying to do. Okay. But they got to be really careful with this. Yeah. Really, really careful with this. You can't just pretty much shun immigration to why you said you need workforce. And I hate to say it, Americans have become, spoiled would be a good word. I will agree. Like, there's just a lot of jobs that are needed here in this country that Americans won't take. They won't do, even though they could, they won't. Okay. Entitlement, whatever you want to call it. But, that's where, back when I was 14, I worked on a farm, and it was me and Jack, my best friend, because it was his dad's farm. And then there was maybe one other person working on that farm that was American. Everybody else was Mexican, and we worked fine with them, but they were freaking hard workers. They busted their butt. And listen, like, in today's world, I think it's even more prevalent. Like, you have to have immigration. This country will die without immigration, but you got to have the right kind of immigration.
Exactly. Yes.
Not ones that open daycares with nobody and steal tax dollars. How about the pollution rule shift?
Chris, there's a lot of people who steal a lot of money, and some of them are in office right now. Let's leave that there.
Nancy Pelosi, Schumer. Yeah.
Who's the guy from Florida who had the biggest Medicare fraud of all time? Who's in office right now?
Medicare fraud?
Medicare fraud. Yeah.
Okay,
he's out of Florida. Anyways, I want to actually go to
Kansas?
some of
I
these
don't know.
comments before I get off on too much of a tangent. So, Michael, let's talk to you. Did you ask how capitalism takes care of it the same way that it always has? Yeah, capitalism ends up collapsing when you don't have a growing population. One of the fundamentals of capitalism is that there's an ever-growing population to help the economy grow no matter what. All right. If we can't survive without immigration, we need to shut the doors. Let's divide into regions and give that a shot. Did you not see the Hunger Games? All right.
That's just a movie. I disagree with what Jim said. I like Jim, and we agree to disagree on many things, but I truly don't think with the birth rates right now in the US that we could sustain economic growth or GDP if we did not have legal immigration. I just don't see that we could. Could be wrong, but it just doesn't seem possible.
This is not
China's figuring that out right now. But China's got a problem because nobody wants to live in China except for Tajors maybe wants to live in China, but nobody else wants to live in China. So a lot of people from other countries want to live in the United States of America. Shutting the visas down. I don't know. Listen, I got a guy who worked for me for many, many years. Brilliant. He's been here since college. And he now is back in India or wherever he was in. He's kind of been bouncing around because of Trump's immigration law, and he can't get his visa. So he's got 2 masters already. He's going to have to go back to school, just get the student visa. He's going to have to go back to school. So he'll be the only person I know that has 3 MBAs soon.
That's absolutely crazy.
So I see it. I see it from the good and the bad. But, there's a method to the madness, I suppose.
Every sword has 2 edges when it comes to economics and politics. The constitutional right of due process is being crapped all over. I think that's being said for itself. I mean, I'm not a fan of when the vice president says that we're going to be having ICE agents going door to door. That reminds me of a guy who was an Austrian artist that didn't make it in art school because that was what happened there. Obama's policies killed me financially in my early career. If I was an investor straight out of high school, I would have won in Obama's economy, but I wasn't. I was told to get a job. Yeah, get a job.
Yeah,
get a job then. Okay. A lot of us made a lot of money under Obama's economy. It was one of the biggest expansions of GDP ever. Don't just Chris, I don't mean to rant. Just give me 10 seconds here. Everyone here, look past yourself and look at the big picture of America's economy. Whenever we're looking at any of these particular points, I am not always going to be right. I admit it. Chris admits that he's not always going to be right, but please look at the macro. We have to look at how does it impact the vast majority of Americans, or at least the idea that it will help Americans. All right. Brian Fouts is going to be on, Chris.
Yeah, I know. So we got a bunch of stuff going on. 1 p.m. Eastern, we got Stefan coming on. We're going to be talking investments, GDP. We're going to be talking some really important stuff. If you are looking to know how to invest your 401k, your monies, like this will be the first time, on Wealth Webinar where we're going to have somebody that can give you legitimate financial advice coming in from PMC
Chris,
Wealth.
you know what? I gotta give you some applause here. All right, I'm throwing some dollars.
This might be the first.
You were the first person to teach me and talk to me about 401ks being used as a down payment on your house, using a 401k to purchase your car. And then what happens is you recapture all of that interest to yourself when you repay that loan to your 401k. Thank you. Why is DJT trying to take all your thunder? Why is he trying to?
Oh my God. I saw that. I did see that. I'm like, what? Anyway, yeah. That's pretty cool. That's good. But
so
tonight,
if you want to learn how money works before the president has to tell you about it, why don't you?
I know. I feel like I saw that. I'm like, I thought the same thing, but he's Big Daddy, so I can't. I'm not going to say anything.
I'll be damned if I call that motherfucker Big Daddy.
I'm just kidding. But anyway, I do want to hit on Brian Fouts tonight and Steven are doing an awesome training. You really, really want to be there. There's no cost for it. It happens at 9 p.m. So we're really kind of trying a 9 p.m. webinar for all the West Coasters. Kind of give you some adequate time to get home, eat, and then kind of jump on as you wrap the night up. So that'll be really good. There's the link on it. You can register. But I want to go down to Jim Collins here, and I want to give Jim some love. He said, look at how immigration has worked out in Europe. And we could say the same thing. So I go to Canada quite a bit with snowboarding. And, I'm around a lot of Canadians. So we're pretty much Canadian here in Buffalo. And I talk to them and I always ask questions. I'm a pretty nosy son of a pup. And I just ask them, I say, so, you see what's going on in the US, and we talk about healthcare a lot. We talk about, like what they see. And I got a really good friend who is in Toronto, and he talks a lot about how Toronto has been going to the shitter. And Toronto's the biggest city in Canada, Toronto and Vancouver. And one of the interesting things that when you look at that is he was saying, all the immigration, all the foreigners that they've just let in are ruining Canada. And these are Canadians saying this. So, Jim, when you look at immigration, how it's worked out in Europe, the reason immigration hasn't worked in Europe is because they just open their borders like Biden did here in the U.S. I mean, you can't just open your borders like Canada did, like Europe did, and like the U.S. did in the past, but you have to open the borders. You have to have immigration.
Here's the deal. There are going to be people who are xenophobic. That means basically have a fear of change. I'm going to say something that I'm going to get in trouble for. There are certain groups within Toronto specifically that can't drive for shit, and they have been ruining it. There are certain groups that are so insular that they don't let other people participate in their economies in Toronto. I will go.
Yeah, you know a lot about Toronto, so you can speak way better than I can. I'm just going off of what one person said.
Without that massive immigration, without them bringing money and investment to increase Canada's GDP, Canada would collapse, and most people look past that particular point. You got to take the good with the bad, the happy with the sad.
There's always a good and a bad. And like one of the good things is whole milk is returning to schools. I mean, come on, can I get a hell yeah to that?
Oh, hell no. I don't need that. Well, number one, I'm lactose intolerant. Chris, Chris, you're vegan, vegetarian. I'm not sure if you can have milk, so it is.
Yeah, we got to hit on some positives because we've been talking so much.
Yeah, let's talk about some positive shit.
Let me rapid fire. Whole milk's returning to schools. Social Security just witnessed, anyone that gets Social Security checks, they just got a 2.8% COLA increase. Not bad. The maximum wage cap, which I'd like this, rose from 176,100 to 184,500. So that's a good thing. Okay. Mortgage rates, they just slid to one of the lowest levels since 2022. So now you can probably find a mortgage under 6%. Good thing. Snow squalls for snowboarders and skiers. Good thing. For the rest, there was a really bad accident.
Chicago's loving except for that accident.
And well, believe this or don't believe this, but the White House releases 365 wins in 365 days. If I just take that as from a surface, a scratch test or a sniff test, good. So I just wanted to hit on some goods because we've just been so negative today.
Yeah. Let's go here. Chris, what do you think about robotaxis? Yay or nay yet? You on board or no?
No, I'm scared of them.
So here's what's happening. Lyft.
I'm also scared of Uber drivers.
Well, either way, you're going to be scared. But let's look at it this way. Lyft, they are the number one competitor to Uber. And what they said is they're going to, instead of us trying to compete with self-driving, we're going to be the people that are actually going to be cleaning all of these self-driving cars and all these autonomous vehicles as this rolls out into mass adoption. So I think that's a really good position for Lyft to take. They'll probably still be a ride-sharing company because in capitalism, we need competition. And Lyft doing this, I think, is a pretty strong position to have because they're looking at the part that's being overlooked by a lot of other places. Chris, you don't do seafood, though, do you?
Seafood? Well, yeah. I mean, I do. I'm not vegan or I'm pescatarian. So
pescatarian. Okay.
So I'll tell you, I'm not buying any black diamond tuna. I'm sorry.
Why? But it's only $3.2 million.
Can't afford it, man. Can't afford it. I'm sure it's delicious, but I'll just have to go with the poor man's tuna.
Exactly. See, in Japan, what happens, guys, is that the first tuna of the year is meant to signify like a massive, it's a big deal in Japan. It's a massive deal. And the number one franchisor of sushi out of Japan basically bought a $3.2 million tuna, and he knew he was going to win this sucker. I don't know about the weight. I don't know about the color. All I know is this thing better be delicious, and it's going to be distributed worldwide. So if you guys want a piece of that 3.2 tuna, it's probably
a little caviar piece,
exactly.
Like a little nugget.
It'll be a pate at this point.
Pate, yeah. This one's big news. Saks Fifth Ave. I mean, we all grew up with Saks Fifth Ave, and it's been in so many movies. I mean, like it's an iconic store. They're bankrupt, and that's going to affect definitely a lot of people because there's a lot of money invested from large institutions. And, that's basically just sparking a lot of concern about high-end retailers and the impact of stores like Macy's and things like that. We've seen Macy's get hit too. So I don't know.
Well, think about it. What happened is Saks Fifth Avenue, just to give a bit of backstory, is Saks said, you know what, over there is Nordstrom, let's absorb them. But they couldn't absorb all of that. They were trying to eat a hippopotamus in one bite as opposed to little bit nibbles at a time. And they've absorbed way too much debt. And their biggest asset is their location in New York City, which is worth, several $1 billion. but they're leveraged up to the gills. And now a lot of their vendors, a lot of the people that they have inventory from, they're not going to be able to pay them back. So now a bankruptcy judge is basically saying, look, we're going to take the order and see who gets paid back first. And in which case, you know, good luck, everybody. Hope you get some money back. But I mean, retail is dead, but excuse me, bad retail is dead, but good retail is not, because now we're seeing a lot more debt to consumer models. I mean, Chris, I don't know if you have an affinity for luxury brands. I don't know, maybe your wife does.
I do not.
But why is Gucci and Louis Vuitton, all these stores are saying, why do I need to sell at Saks or Nordstrom when I can just go direct to consumer?
That's exactly. Burton Snowboards did that a long time ago. And I remember as a retailer back then, I had my shops. I was so against them selling direct to customers. It was a big outrage. But at the end of the day, it didn't really change anything. I mean, yeah, it helped Burton, helped them sell a lot more product. But like as a retailer, people still came in because they wanted to touch and feel and they wanted the experience. So, you know, listen, I think that is definitely the direction you're starting to see. You're seeing it Tesla. Another example, right? Tesla goes direct. I mean, if you want to buy a Tesla, you buy it direct from Tesla. If you want to service it, you do it direct from Tesla. It's not like privately owned. So it is definitely an interesting model that's shifting, and you're seeing it a lot. Just because we're over time here, and I want to make sure I go in and I just want to hit some important comments that came in, because there was some good ones. Michael coming in from YouTube, Michael VC2CS said, growing population, shrinking. Here, I'll put it up.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's easier if I do it that way. Growing population, shrinking population. Capitalism is freedom to sell and buy what you want, to produce what you want. How is population growth or decline a constraint? So to what Michael's saying is, how is, you know, when you look at that, it's not a constraint to capitalism at all. Okay. It's just a constraint to the ability for a nation to grow. You need, well, I guess you could almost throw a crescent wrench in the gears on this one in today's world, because like we're at a new era almost with AI, you know, and just everything going on with computers and robots. So I don't know, Michael, I guess your statement could actually have some weight. You know, in a prior, I would say, no, you need population, you need growth of population to continue to grow, you know, GDP and grow the economy. But I think really what you're more talking about is capitalism as a basis of, do you need growing population for capitalism? No, but you certainly need growing population for GDP as it stands today, maybe not in the future. Let's see. Job as an automotive under Obama killed them. I mean, not all was good with Obama, but not all was good with any president, right? Let's see. Jim Collins said, I'll hit this one. So if I'm going broke, I need to let some MS-13 gang member, Nazi, or others come live with me as long as their investments allow me to keep going. You know, there was an awesome meme or like a video that was done on YouTube that I loved. It was a Democrat who was all for, you know, open borders and let them all come in. And then, you know, the guy was just like, so, you know, if there was people that needed a place to live, like you would help. And she's like, oh yeah. So they pull a bus up and a bunch of illegals get out of the bus. And she's like, no. But like, right. So I agree, Jim, like, no, you should not be letting illegals like MS-13 gang members, but through proper legal immigration, going through the steps, like they can weed a lot of that out, because there's databases, right? If you're an MS-13 gang member, there's probably some record of something you've done bad. Not always. In Nazis, well, I don't know. But no, you should be letting bad people in. The problem is, and James, hang on, let me finish my little rant, is the prior administration, I know James will disagree and has a lot to say, they did literally just open the borders. So you had all this riffraff coming in to what you're mentioning. But what the point we were trying to make, or I was trying to make, I'm not going to speak for James, is you need immigration, legal immigration, proper immigration, where the bad people don't get in. I'm just kind of keeping a high level here. The bad people don't get in. You get the proper people coming that want an opportunity because they're coming from another area where it's not less than ideal to live, right? So the land of the free, the land of opportunity, we have to share that, but we have to share that properly with legal immigration. James, I don't know if you disagree with any of that.
Here's a few key things, though. About 74% of people, I just did a quick search, people held by ICE have no criminal conviction. So I think that's pretty interesting. Let's keep that in mind as well. And
ICE is not perfect. ICE is making a lot of mistakes.
ICE has made way too many mistakes. And ICE has been around previous to the Trump administration. It's just that there's a gross miscarriage of justice, and that's why we're seeing all of this particular outrage. Yeah. We're for people on the left. Don't be fooled by what conservative media tells you, and that some blue-haired transgender individual wants to house all MS-13. Okay, nobody wants that. Nobody would agree to that, and you are way too smart to fall victim to that type of rhetoric. Okay, we understand that this having immigration helps grow America. That is fundamentally true. Go ahead, do a search.
It is.
All right. And we agree criminals should be kicked out and people who abuse the system should be punished. But when we make a blanket term that says all of these immigrants need to go, well, the chances are then that some of the people who support your business, some of the people that work these jobs are going to be the same people that get kicked out and then have a ripple effect affecting indigenous Americans, Americans born 10 years, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, their businesses to this day.
Well, Jim makes a strong point here. Look at the legal immigrants that we've elected into Congress. Yeah, look at them, huh? AOC, or is AOC an immigrant?
She's Puerto Rican.
Okay, well, all right. Anyway,
yeah,
whatever.
Puerto Rico's
I mean, you could make a case like that. Some of them are pretty stupid and dipshits, but legal immigration. At the end of the day, that's all we're trying to say. You got to have legal immigration.
We need this whole.
Yeah, I mean, can we just agree to disagree? You got to have legal immigration. I mean, it just has to happen. And with that being said, folks, we are literally out of time. We went way over today. A lot of riffraff, a lot of brain freezes and interesting things, but that's what makes this show real, right? It's not scripted. We have kind of topics we hit, but we always go down rabbit holes. And I love it when someone like she obviously got pissed off and left because I got heated on her. But Toziers 3589, you always got to have somebody to argue with.
And Hollingsworth, thank you for commenting. I appreciate your comments. And again, you know what? I welcome your criticisms. I welcome you saying I'm incorrect. Give me the opportunity to prove myself. And I hope that we both have the empathy and the intellect to be able to see each other's positions. That's my end.
I mean, me and you argue all the time. We were arguing this morning.
Literally this morning.
I think I said that was the stupidest effing thing I've ever heard you say this morning. So yeah, it's all productive. But look at now we're good. Like,
at least you're a benevolent CEO.
Yeah, benevolent. It was all about benevolent, and it's to yours. That's why I asked if you knew her. She mentioned benevolent early. I don't know what benevolent.
I have no idea who that is.
I'm a terrible speller. I'm not a very good reader. I'm not great with grammar. But I'm pretty good with money. So, you just got to stay in your lane. But anyway, with that being said, folks, we got to wrap this. Thanks for joining us for WTF. Join us this afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern for Wealth Webinar, where Stefan is going to dissect the economy and how investing into this economy and how to do it. Okay. So with that being said, join us then. And also 9 p.m. tonight, Brian Fouts and Stephen Nagy are going to be putting on an amazing training. So lots going on today. We'll see you a little bit later. Thanks for joining.